Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right, Able Auctions is our title sponsor, just ahead of John Shannon. Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox from Peter. Players like Tyler Mott are a dime a dozen. I'd be overjoyed if he was dealt for a third and you replace him for a guy making $1.1 million. Rich Evans would disagree.
So the guy coming in at 1-1's got to drive that line. Like Tyler's driving that line right now. Okay, whatever.
Well, you're upset about that.
I'm not upset about it.
NHL Analyst John Shannon joins us now. He's co-host of the Bob McCowan podcast as well. John, thanks for doing this.
Oh, boy, Johnny's laughing.
Well, two things. First of all, every time Rick talked about how far Rich Evans lived away from him, it started 2 blocks, then it was 3 blocks, and by the end of it was 5 blocks.
I have trouble. It's a couple of miles away.
I tell you what, if you were ever a travel agent and I asked you what time the flight left, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, just show up. I wouldn't want to, I'd be worried if you were my travel agent, Rick. I really would.
But when you're walking, it's different than getting in your car and going 2-3 blocks. If you walk, it's 10, 15, 20 minutes. Anyways, I screwed up.
Hey, John, Canucks beat the Habs 5-3. JT Miller's on a 10-game point streak. I don't know if you mentioned this. He's tied for ninth in NHL points right now. He has major respect in Vancouver. What about the rest of the NHL?
Oh, I think that there's 10 teams salivating over him if he's available. I'm not sure he's available. I don't think he's available. I don't know why he would be available. There are certain guys that are, keys to the engine of a hockey club. And right now, JT Miller is part of that big engine for the Vancouver Canucks. There would be plenty of interest in Miller if it became possible that Jim Rutherford decided and Patrick decided that he wasn't part of the future. I'd be shocked now if that was the case. And quite frankly, we've been talking about this for a month. Mm-hmm. You could see the writing on the wall. Yeah. That this guy was getting better and better and becoming more valuable to this organization long term.
John, I've been accused, Rick's been accused of flip-flopping. I've been focused on a rebuild. I want to hear the word, all that when it comes to the Canucks. But now we see what they're doing right now. And does this group, does it not deserve a shot at the very least of trying to make the playoffs and maybe making some sort of playoff run?
Well, playoff run. Let's be realistic.
Yes.
That's might be secondary. Do they deserve a chance to get to the playoffs? I think they do. Absolutely. I think that this is something that Jim and Patrick have looked at and been pragmatic about because they can take their time and they're playing. This is their honeymoon. They're playing with house money. If they make the decision to decide to get to the playoffs, it will be, we decided for the short term to go for the playoffs. I do think, and when you look at their schedule, there's enough teams that are not in the playoffs that they should beat. They have 3 games against Vegas, the first 12 days in April. And the way Vegas is going, who knows what's going to happen to the Golden Knights as far as playoff opportunities. The only sad thing for them is that they don't have more games with Edmonton. I think they only play Edmonton one more time, which is the last game of the season.
Yeah.
But from that perspective, that's where I think the Canucks really have a good schedule and a schedule that a lot of teams that they can beat, which puts them in good stead.
Yeah, and when I say playoff run, maybe that was the wrong phrase, but that Pacific Division, you just touched on it, so unpredictable when you look back to the start of the season. You mentioned Vegas. In Buffalo tonight, what kind of reception do you think Jack Eichel's going to get?
That's an interesting one. If you read the media in Buffalo, I think most of them are siding with Jack Eichel. Why couldn't Jack Eichel have had this surgery in Buffalo? The Sabres pushed back and said, no, it's unconventional. It's never happened. And by the way, there's already 2 guys in the league that have had the surgery and are performing pretty well. Eichel being one and Tyler Johnson in Chicago the other. So obviously this ADR stuff, artificial disc replacement, is something that is going to be a factor in professional sports, and Eichel just seemed to be on the cutting edge. And you have to give. I know Rick's the guy with all the agent contacts. You got to give Pat Brisson some credit because he really believed.
Yep.
And well, okay, the CAA guys, you got to believe in the CAA guys. They believed in Eichel. They went and did the research on this, and they decided that it was the best thing for Eichel, and then pushed it through. And when Buffalo wouldn't do anything about it, they got him moved to a place that said, "Yes, we understand that."
John, back to the Canucks. One thing that Alvin or Rutherford I've been impressed with is patience in a Canadian market, trade deadline. They're not forcing anything. They're basically saying, we'll do it when we're ready. And they're not ready right now. But take us into your views, 11 days to the deadline. You get the feeling if they stay in this playoff hunt, there won't be much stuff in Vancouver happening?
Here's the thing. That text on the what is the Langley? What is the Langley? What?
Delaney's okay. Taryn Langley inbox.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Make sure you get that right, John.
Well, no, that's your job.
That's true.
I agree with them more than I agree with Mr. Dollawell.
Okay.
I think that when you see trade deadline things happen, it's guys in the middle class, and Tyler Mott's a middle class guy.
Yeah.
And if you can find a way. And then you have somebody in your organization that you think can fit that mold for the short term, then you go do the deal for a third-round pick. You do. So if this team does any tweaking, I do think it's a guy like Tyler Mott more than anybody else in this organization. I still think that they would have to look at Besser and have discussions about Besser. And the obvious one to me is if they can find somebody to get something for Jaro Halak, because you can go to Halak and ask him to move his no-move contract.
Donnie wants to know about Halak if you have any more details.
No. We're good. It should be called It should be called Donnie Dolly and Halak.
Halak.
Yeah, and Yaroslav.
Never has a backup goaltender got this much ink, John, in this city.
Hey, John. Go ahead.
I think goaltenders around the league, there are so few guys that are movable. I think that's what happens is you start going to that second tier, and so Yaro's name, he's made his money and made his reputation in the playoffs more than anything else.
John, you remember when Grant Fuhr played 72, 73 times a season? Mm-hmm. This is going to be a big.
Are we actually going to be talking about Halak again here?
No, we're not. I'm moving on from Halak. But, John, looking ahead to the backup next year in Vancouver, I worry sometimes about Demko getting tired. He's at 46 games. He's on pace for, I think, 66. That's a big number in today's day and age. That's too much. You're going to get we know Halak's not back, but they got to find a good backup next year that they're going to have confidence in.
Summertime. That's a summertime project.
Yeah.
There's a bucket full of goalies that will always want to be available. Always will want that second chance. And are you turning your back on the guys in the organization to fill that void, Rick?
Spencer Martin.
Why not? Why not? Look, he was pretty impressive when he came up for that short time, wasn't he?
Yep.
Hey, John, before we let you go, Dick Irvin turns 90 last week. Harry Neal turns 85 on Wednesday. Did turn 85 on Wednesday. Yeah. You worked with both. You were at Hockey Night in Canada for so long. Quickly, this is disrespectful, but quickly, if you can, your memories of working with those two greats.
Oh, well, first of all, Dick was one of the first guys I ever met at Hockey Night. And the one thing I would tell you is that Dick, I was a 19-year-old kid, and Dick gave me respect. And I've never forgotten that because Dick would sit down and ask me questions about hockey. And if I gave him the answer, he'd argue with me. But it felt like he gave me respect early in my career. And we became lifelong friends. Spoke to him on his birthday. And he's just an unbelievable man and great energy for a 90-year-old. Just had his hip replaced, by the way. Wow. So I think he needs to get back out in the Beaconsfield to hit the ball a little farther. And as far as Harry, well, I met Harry when he coached the Canucks. One of my first sojourns was to be travel with the Canucks in 78 and 79 when Harry was the coach, and you got the glib Harry Neal. and again, a guy that I worked with a long time. I think nobody had a better sense of the game than Harry Neale. Turned down coaching opportunities after he was at Hockey Night because he would say, you know what, I like TV. I go to the Stanley Cup final every year, and I don't have to worry about wins and losses anymore.
Outstanding. You were 19 years old, so 20 years ago. Thanks for that, John.
I have socks older than that, Donna.
Appreciate it. John Shannon, thanks so much.
Cheers.